A battle is brewing between the two most popular teas, black tea versus green tea. Both of these teas taste great, but only one can win when it comes to flavor and health benefits. In this video, we're going to compare green tea versus black tea to see which one comes out on top. We'll be looking at the differences between the two teas, comparing the caffeine in green tea versus black tea, and finally seeing why is green tea healthier than black tea once and for all. Let's get started. To understand the difference between green tea and black tea, you have to first understand that there are actually 6 different types of teas: white tea, yellow tea, green tea, oolong tea, black tea, and post-fermented tea. These teas all come from the same plant, but they are processed differently. As a result, the difference between green tea and black tea comes down to not the plant, but the processing. Let's explore this topic a little bit further. So the difference between green tea versus black tea comes down to the processing of the teas, specifically the oxidation. You see, the main difference between green tea and black tea is the fact that black tea is oxidized and green tea is unoxidized. Oxidation is what happens when a plant is exposed to the oxygen in the air and it changes forms. In the case of green tea versus black tea, the oxidation causes the tea leaf to convert its polyphenols into theaflavins and theorubicins. This causes differences in the color, flavor, and health benefits of black tea versus green tea. If the tea leaves are simply picked and set aside, they will begin to oxidize naturally and eventually take on the characteristics of a black tea. For this reason, if the farmer wants to produce an unoxidized green tea, he will need to deactivate the enzymes that cause oxidation. This is accomplished by applying intense heat to the tea leaves almost immediately after the harvest. This heating is the main difference between green tea and black tea when it comes to the production of the two teas. So let's talk about the appearance in green tea versus black tea. Another striking difference between green tea and black tea is the color of the two teas. Green tea takes on the color of yellow or green versus black tea, which is typically a reddish brown. Hojicha is a type of Japanese green tea that can't seem to decide whether it's a green tea or a black tea. It takes on a reddish brown color, but it technically is a green tea because it's unoxidized. The reddish color comes from the roasting process, which gives it a warmer flavor profile with notes of coffee and chocolate. So what about the leaves of the two teas? You'll also notice a difference in appearance when comparing the leaves of green tea versus black tea. Black tea leaves are a much darker color, typically ranging from a reddish brown to black. This of course comes from the oxidation, during which the color of the leaf fades from vibrant green to a dull brown color. Does green tea or black tea have more caffeine? One of the big differences between the two teas is the caffeine in green tea versus black tea. So when you compare green versus black tea caffeine, you'll see that the average cup of black tea will have 47 milligrams of caffeine per cup. A premium Japanese green tea like Gyokuro can have as much as 120 to 140 milligrams of caffeine per cup. So why is there such a striking difference when it comes to the caffeine in green tea versus black tea? Let's find out. So the reason why there's more caffeine in green tea has to do with the picking, the shading, and the processing. Unlike black tea, high caffeine Japanese green teas like Gyokuro are shaded before the harvest, which boosts the levels of caffeine. Also, this tea is made from only the top 3 sprouts of the tea plant, which boosts the caffeine content even further. While not all Japanese green teas will have as high of a caffeine content as Gyokuro, quite a few of them are shaded and also made from these younger leaves. Sencha, a more common Japanese green tea, will contain 60 milligrams of caffeine per serving, for example. One advantage that black tea might actually have over green tea in the caffeine department is the fact that it's often brewed with hotter water. Hot water extracts more bitterness in a green tea, but it can also extract more caffeine. Black tea, on the other hand, doesn't get quite as bitter when you boil it. So this might lead to an upset in the caffeine green versus black tea battle. So next, let's talk about the question that seems to be on everybody's mind. Which is healthier, green tea or black tea? Green tea is generally considered to be healthier than black tea, and it comes down to a few different factors. First, we have the picking. Black tea is often, although not always, made from the older leaves of the tea plant, and Japanese green tea like Sencha, Gyokuro, and Matcha are made from the younger tea leaves. The younger leaves of the tea plant are higher in nutrients, which is why green teas get their reputation for being nutritional powerhouses. So is black tea or green tea better for you? It would appear that green tea has a slight advantage. Another difference comes down to the antioxidants in green versus black tea. During the oxidation process, the polyphenols are converted into theaflavins and theorubicins. This can produce a delicious flavor, but the polyphenols are actually antioxidants. For this reason, green teas will maintain higher levels of antioxidants compared to their oxidized counterparts. So now that we've established why green tea is healthier than black tea, let's talk about some benefits of green tea besides health. Another advantage that green tea has over black tea is that green tea works very well as a cold brew. You can simply infuse the tea leaves in cold or room temperature water for 3 to 8 hours and strain out the tea leaves. You'll find that the cold water releases more of these sweet and fruity components from the leaves and less of the bitterness. This method can also work with black tea, but not nearly as well. One final advantage of green tea versus black tea is the flavor profile of green tea. During the steaming process, the farmer is able to lock in a lot of these natural, fresh vegetable flavors of the leaf. This creates a tea experience unlike any other, and it's a great benefit of drinking green tea. Whether you choose green tea or black tea, you can still enjoy a delicious flavor and plenty of health benefits. But which is better, green tea or black tea? We find that green tea is a great one to start with, and here's a list of the best green teas for beginners. First, we have hojicha. This is the tea we mentioned before that looks a lot like a black tea, but it's actually a type of green tea. After the leaves have been picked, they are roasted over a high heat in order to take on a darker taste profile of coffee, caramel, or chocolate. This is a perfect cozy weather tea, one that you can curl up with and sip while you read a good book. You'll absolutely love it. Next, we have genmaicha, the famous popcorn tea. Genmaicha is made by mixing toasted rice with green tea leaves. This began as a way to conserve tea leaves during times of famine, but people soon became obsessed with this warm and nutty flavor profile. Most people like this tea the first time they drink it. It has a nice cereal taste with notes of caramel and popcorn. Finally, we have katagane, a sweet and mild indulgence. It takes a while to work up to the intense flavors of most Japanese green teas, so why not give this one a try? Katagane is made from the stems and leaves of shaded tea plants. The stems give the tea a milder taste profile and a lower caffeine content, making it very drinkable. The shading process makes the tea sweeter, with notes of cantaloupe melon and cucumber. The tea also works great as a cold brew. So who won the battle of black tea versus green tea? Now that we have thoroughly investigated what's the difference between green tea and black tea, I think it's now time to crown a champion. Overall, green tea seems to be the better option compared to black tea. When we compare green tea versus black tea caffeine, green tea comes out on top. When we look at is green tea healthier than black tea, green tea also seems to win. Finally, there are advantages to green tea versus black tea when it comes to the versatility and the flavor, and for that reason, we have to say that the green tea is the winner of this contest. If you'd like to try some green tea for yourself, we have some great Japanese green teas at neoteas.com. After traveling around Japan for the past few years, we've met with dozens of farmers and sampled hundreds of different types of teas. Ultimately, we've decided on a few of our favorites, and we'd like to share them with you with free worldwide shipping at neoteas.com. Another way to support this channel is by liking the video and subscribing so that you can see more tea videos in the future. If you have any questions about green tea, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. Until then, we'll see you next time.